UFC 257 is now upon us. I'm Matthew Connell from Alternative Sport, and I'm going to give you reasons to be excited for Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2. Now let's get the obvious out of the way. One of the main reasons that you guys are probably tuning in for UFC 257 is, of course, Conor McGregor. He is back. But why is Conor McGregor back? Because there's a big question mark now in the lightweight division. Now Khabib, after beating Justin Gaethje, convincingly, may we add, has now seen an opportunity where he could be champion once again and put in the season that he wanted to put in. But let's not sleep on Dustin Poirier, because this guy's got a fight of the night, performance of the nights across most of his previous bouts. Now, for the casual fans that aren't really too aware of Dustin Poirier, this is a guy that's working on a 26-6 win record. Only 6 defeats is very impressive. And he had beat Dan Hooker in his last fight. That was unanimous, but it was a fight of the night and was up there with potentially a fight of the year contender for sure. An absolute beast of a match. You can watch the whole fight up on the YouTube channel for sure. I think UFC's got it, or if not BT Sport, the Brits got you covered. Now, Conor McGregor also wants to get back into boxing, and this is very important because he wants to take on Manny Pacquiao. Now, with the carrot dangle that he's apparently one win away from being allowed a title shot, of course, for boxer Conor McGregor, that is very, very appealing. Now, Manny Pacquiao, my fellow Filipino, of course, is a southpaw. Conor McGregor, southpaw. Dustin Poirier, southpaw. So we got a left-handed fist fight going down. Now, we have to look at this really carefully. What are the tools? What are going to be the paths to victory for each fighter? Conor McGregor has made a promise. He's going to get it done in 60 seconds. And that is a lot quicker than the 146 that he did against Dustin Poirier in our first matchup back in 2014 in UFC 178. Thank you, Wikipedia. I'm not going to pretend there's not notes up in this thing. Now, fans, casuals, why should we stay up late? Late night crew, BT box office. Don't stream it because Dana White is going to hunt you down. Why should we even watch this? Well, it is a possibility for all reasons that Dustin does have the tools to beat Conor McGregor. Why? Because there's much, much more, I would say, accomplished wrestling skill upon this. But you cannot write off Conor McGregor because he has got very good defensive skills when he needs to use it. Now, you could say that Conor, you could roll all the way back to, I was watching Chad Mendes fight. And that was a long time ago, and of course, Conor McGregor's skills were still in development. But some fans might tune into that fight and say, well, wow, Chad Mendes kind of had a lot of control until he got knocked out. Khabib fight, again, you could look at that very easily and say, well, this could work for Dustin Poirier's favour. Even in the first Nate Diaz fight with a submission, the risk of submissions is always there for Conor McGregor, and that is always the what if for any casual fan will be watching. What are positives? What does Dustin Poirier have? Why should we not sleep on him? Well, it is very, very simple. The punching power, the frequency. He is a destroyer. And, look, he got a decision on Dan Hooker. He had a decision and went all the way with Max Holloway. The last TKO victory he had was against Eddie Alvarez back in 2018. But if you were to watch that free fight of Dan Hooker versus Poirier, when Dustin Poirier gets excited, knows he has got his enemies backed up against the fence and gets those punches in, it starts to get a bit emotional, a bit reckless. And that is a key element into this fight. The emotions are high. And if you were to look at a build-up between what happened in 178, McGregor Poirier 1, a lot of emotions were into it. Conor McGregor was basically the peak of his trolling feats. And that, of course, as fans, we love that. Now, it's different this time. It's very, very different. It's very respectful. Now the fighters have made weight. Now they've done the press conference. It's very respectable. All the lightweights with Hooker, Michael Chandler, Conor, Dustin, they're patting each other on the back. There's a lot of respect. There's fathers out there. They've got their own brands. Dustin has a hot sauce company, Proper 12 of Conor. But don't underestimate that all these emotions in the fight game in UFC are going to be let out all on the canvas in Abu Dhabi, in the Etihad Arena. Very lovely, by the way. So, what does this mean for maybe fans that are looking for those little openings in this fight? I think the first thing to look out for is that the containment of the emotion is quite a curious one. We haven't seen Conor really this calm often, even though he had that with Donald Cerrone, there was a lot of respect, got it done in 40 seconds, and a calm Conor can be a dangerous Conor. Dustin Poirier is a very heart-in-your-sleeve fighter, and for me personally, as a fan, I'm not an expert, don't worry. The closest I've got to seeing anything very professional has been filming Darren Till in a gym at Team Cowboy in Liverpool. So that almost means nothing as well. But Dustin Poirier does have the ingredients to put away Conor McGregor. If he's calculated, if he's improved, if he's used the tape to go, right, how can I break apart Conor McGregor? If he can hold the center of the ring and get in there, control his emotions, and maybe when there is an opening, get Conor McGregor to the ground. I made a very outlandish prediction for Dustin Poirier through Alternative Sport on YouTube saying, well, second round submission, why not? That is the path to victory. But I guarantee this, it's hard to look past a Conor McGregor victory. Now, who's going to win? In my opinion, it's really, really hard to look past Conor McGregor. Can he do it in the 60 seconds? You know what? I'm willing to put my stopwatch on my iPhone out and give it a blast. Why not? But it's curious to think that, you have two very calm fighters here with a lot at stake in a lightweight division. Khabib has said, show me something spectacular and I will fight again 30-0. After his father had passed away, he vowed never to fight again in the octagon. Dana White came out and said, I had a conversation with Khabib and he's keen. Now this is cute. This is not only curious, it's interesting because is Khabib really back? This is what the skeptics, this is what the journalists, the real guys out there. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a crazy ass fan. Dana White, the great Dana White has said that, that's what Khabib wants. Show me something. So that's interesting, right? Will Khabib really want to go for a rematch with Conor after all the emotions, all the controversy, all the fights that broke out amongst his teammates, Dylan Dennis being the ultimate antagonist? But then what can Conor McGregor do to make a statement? Is it the 60-second knockout? Could he put Dustin Poirier in a position of TKO and go, you know what? I have got wrestling skills, and maybe try and find a way to submit Dustin Poirier to make a statement. Conor said this will be a masterpiece. So let's see what the masterpiece will be. It is very, very intriguing. There's a lot of respect. Both fighters have got their families on the island with them. It's different. UFC fans aren't used to this kind of calmness in the build-up to a Conor McGregor fight. Maybe the casuals aren't used to this. But with no title on the line, we have to keep our eyes peeled. I think it's going to be a Conor McGregor win, but you cannot sleep on Dustin Poirier. You just cannot. Now, what does this mean for the lightweight division? If Conor McGregor wins, does he take on a Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira then to get to Khabib? Or is the money fight there to be made? Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier are going to be throwing fists. It's going to be a beautiful boxing match if not. And I think casual fans, if you're going to stay up, if you want to see a spectacle, stick around, watch it, because it's very, very likely that it could end in the first round. Conor is confident. Fans, journalists seem confident. But Dustin, he's got skills. He has got skills. He's knocked out Eddie Alvarez. He's knocked out Justin Gaethje. This isn't a fool. This isn't a guy that isn't going to have any chance in hell. But will the emotions overspill in the canvas? Will it be a heart-on-your-sleeve fight for Dustin Poirier? Or Conor McGregor do what he does and just show the skills and the skill set that he has? He's got tools to do it, and there's a lot of danger within those fists, especially that left. Don't want to mess with it. So Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's not all about Conor McGregor and Dustin. Of course, there are other fights on the card we should be excited about. So Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler is another lightweight division fight that we should be looking out for. And now this will set the scene for the rest of the division as well and will be the perfect appetizer for the main event. Now, for Dan Hooker, New Zealand fighter, an absolute weapon. After beating James Vick, Al Quinter, Paul Felder, came across Dustin Poirier. A fight of the night, of course, as we have covered. But this long-rangey fighter is up against a newcomer on the UFC scene, Michael Chandler. Now, Michael Chandler left Bellator, the second promotion you can say in the MMA world. Jumped over. He was a standby fight previously for the Gaethje Khabib fight over in Fight Island. But now the real stuff happens now. Michael Chandler. Now, what do we know about him? Well, he's an absolute weapon. He was a lightweight champion in Bellator. His last fight against Benson Henderson was a first-round TKO. Why is that relevant? Because Benson Henderson is a very rangy, long, tall guy, as is Dan Hooker. So for fans that don't know anything about Michael Chandler, we'll be thinking, well, you know, we've seen Dan Hooker, we've seen what he's done. There's an absolute nobody that's come through, or not necessarily nobody, but someone we're not familiar with. We saw it happen with Ben Askren as he came across into the UFC and had mixed fortunes, controversial outcomes and whatnot with the Lawler fight, and of course Masvidal putting the guy to sleep. Now, I gotta say, I edged my bets here on that. Oh, I don't know. I was gonna say Dan Hooker, but then I watched the Michael Chandler fight versus Benson Henderson in the first round. Dan Hooker has got frequency, has got punching power, but the James Vick fight finishing a KO, but the last two fights before Dustin Poirier, the Felder fight and Iaquinta, went all the way in a 5-round and 3-round fight, a decision. So the punching power is there. He's a strong guy, but has he got the finish in him this time round? A lot was taken out of him in the last fight, and now it's down to Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, you know, might be seen as more of a wrestling threat to Dan Hooker in this fight, but there's something we should be looking out for, because the last two fights for Michael Chandler were TKOs, KO punches. So what can we expect? And they were both round one finishes. So is Chandler going to look for a very fast and furious bout, shock Dan Hooker, don't let him settle? Potentially. But this is very exciting. He's a hell of an athlete, and that is a secondary reason to be excited. But look, I know what you're thinking. Let's hit up the Wikipedia. What else on this card is exciting? Well, Jessica I, Joanne Calderwood. The women's flyweight division is looking hot. There are new names that need to step up, create a challenge, and that is very, very exciting. But I would say, like, my little golden gem out of this is from the strawweight division. We've got Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas is the ultimate new favorite within the media. The Brazilian, 27 years old, has got personality for days. Has been one of the favorites, when doing interviews within the media. Some unbelievable, she has got an unbelievable fight record. It's 10-1. Her last loss was in 2015, so that's not too bad. Her last fight in the UFC was against Paige Vanzant, the poster girl of UFC, who's now left for bare knuckle FC. Now, that was quite a statement piece, because Paige Vanzant was fighting for her contract, and it was a very, very, very significant fight. So now Ribas has basically taken a torch. She's a new favorite, and actually she's a beast. The Brazilians in UFC are dangerous. And that goes back to Charles Oliveira. That is very relevant to the lightweight division, because Charles Oliveira made an absolute fool, sadly, of Tony Ferguson, putting to bed any potential fight of a Tony versus Khabib. We've been wanting that as MMA fans. Now, the Brazilians, UFC, are dangerous. I mean, this is an all Brazilian fight, but there's something about Amanda Ribas that has just got a little bit of sparkle, a bit of star power, and could be the new exciting face of female MMA. But what else is there to be excited about on this card? Well, let's have a little look, shall we? Good old Wikipedia. Well, one thing to look out for in the prelims, Morsar Eloev is undefeated, so that's great for the Russians. That'll be exciting. Your prelims are stacked. Julia Pena versus Sarah McMahon is going to be exciting. But most importantly, the final thing to be excited about, there are fans in the audience. It's crazy, right? Abu Dhabi, Dana White has made it possible. They've added 1,000 fans onto the last, from the Holloway fight that happened last weekend, because it was done so safely. The protocols have been spectacular, and we're going to have a bit more of an atmosphere, and that's going to, of course, work in favour of Conor McGregor. He feeds off the audience. We feed off McGregor and Poirier, and it's going to be one hell of a fight. The late night crew, us Brits, main card's probably going to start around 3 o'clock, but that's all cool. We're used to it. We get on COD, we get on Warzone, we warm up, we stay awake, and we will be ready for the main event. Regardless of which way it goes, we are all very, very excited. And of course, don't pirate any streams. Dana White is coming after you, as he has said in BT Sport interviews and more. I don't know what he's got in his pocket, but just don't stream it. Just buy the fight. The money goes towards the fighters, and we got to support the fight game for sure. So that is it. I'm Matthew Connell from Alternative Sport. I hope you enjoyed my reasons for being excited for UFC 257. As you can tell, I'm excited. Don't take any of my predictions for granted. I'm just a crazy fan. Enjoy the fights, enjoy the battles, get some coffee, and we shall see you next time.